Hello, Pod and
Hi,
Deliver. Today we have a very special guest, Suzanne Tereyan. Hi, Susanna. Welcome.
hi, hi, Ruben.
Thank you for joining us today. The reason we have you on is I think you have a unique perspective right now in that you are teaching online like the rest of us, but you're also a student online, and it would be interesting to I thought it'd be interesting to get your perspective on that. But before I we hear from you, where were you born
She
and
has an
raised?
accent, so I think she's born
Where were
out
you
here.
Where were you born and raised, Susanna?
Uh, I was born in Armenia, in Yerevan, the capital city, Soviet Armenia.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay,
I'm
you're
coming from a communist country.
perfect person to ask because we just read 12 Rules for Life, Jordan Peterson, and he mentions Dostoevsky several times. I guess the question, and we've been wrestling in our discussions about Dostoevsky. I guess my question to you is, well, first of all, have you heard of that guy, Dostoevsky?
Sounds like a
Have,
potato chip.
yeah.
Not that I heard of him. That's my favorite writer.
Okay.
And I have read
Let's,
all his works in Russian because I have Russian education. So
Okay.
yes. So what would you say is the relevance of Dostoevsky today?
Why does he matter today? Is that what you mean?
Why is he relevant today?
relevant. That's a good question because he started writing somewhere in the middle of 19th century. So we're to 21st century. It's a good question how relevant. I think he's very relevant today to start with. And one of my favorite quotes that he says, "Nothing in this world is harder than speaking the truth, and nothing is easier than flattery." So I'll try to be truthful to what I think and just mention maybe a couple of points that I think are really relevant for today. So one notion that he's known for this, I believe probably everybody knows this saying that if there is no God, everything is permitted. So that's what he said in his famous novel, Crime and Punishment. And I think it's very relevant today because what's going on right now in our country, the turmoil, there's, if there is no God, then everything is permitted. So
Do you think that with the young people that we have today, do you think that they believe in that? Do they think that? I mean, do you think they have faith and belief in a God like that?
I think some of them do. Maybe it's 50-50.
Okay.
And I think I'm trying to put the philosophy of the whole, of philosophy of Dostoevsky is two things coexist in human being, and it's good and evil.
Yeah.
And the struggle between good and evil makes life to go on. So that struggle that is going on between two things and human heart is the place where that struggle is going on. So I think the struggle is going on right now in this country. And I see so much, and it's to me, it's really sad to see how much disgrace, how much impunity everywhere. And it just seems like the time when Dostoevsky describes when the Bolshevik Russian Revolution started in 1917 and before that, that turmoil was going on because of the ideas, revolutionary ideas that were coming along. And he was part of it. He was part of it in the beginning. And he spent about 6 years, I think 6 years, as a political prisoner in Siberia because he was having all those ideas. Anyway, just going back to the relevance, I was just thinking, I just thought right now that maybe one point I wanted to mention about being relevant today, besides if there is no God, everything is permitted.
Right.
When you read Dostoevsky, one character has multiple identities to him or her. And today, this question of identity, race and gender, I think it's central. It's politicized. It's right there in everybody's face. There are classes about it in universities and colleges. And if we read Dostoevsky and we look at all the identities that one person can have inside, just look at the human nature. You don't have to go far and create, just read Crime and Punishment.
Yeah.
Just take a look at one of the heroes. This vast and multidimensional world of identities is boiled down to two rather physical attributes of gender and race. But those are just physical attributes. Those are not intellectual. Those are not spiritual attributes.
Right.
They're just merely physical attributes. So why would you simplify, limit one's identity to gender and race when there is a vast, the sea of identities that you could get to know when you read him. So I think Dostoevsky needs to be read, needs to be known because everybody wants to know who they are. So that's a good tool to,
Yeah, I agree. The protagonist, who is a pretty bad guy, but you're right, the multi-dimensions to his character and identities is really powerful, and there's a lot to be said about that in connection to what we're dealing with. I think that's a good title. Because the other 12 Rules for Life, they talked about, Pearson talked about Brothers Karamazov, and Crime and Punishment, but more the brothers. Okay, so you are teaching online and you are a student online. What's it like right now to teach? You've been doing it for many years, but what's it like right now for you?
Well, in the beginning, I had some difficulties because I never taught on Zoom. I had to learn different programs. I would go to YouTube for the training, district training. So technically, I wasn't ready. But then when I got hang of it, the next thing was to overcome the difficulties of connection with students. Mm-hmm. So my number one was like, how do I connect to students through screen? And I was like, after a while,
I hope you figured it out.
Teach us, Suzanne. Tell us.
That's what everybody who's watching, like, she's got the magic pill. No, you can have a couple magic pills. Go ahead.
No, it's just after a while, I thought that I have to engage them more. I think that's the key. You engage the students into discussion more. You're speaking less, you're talking less, but they call it like a student-centered teaching. I believe that it's like, when you're doing your credentials, there's different methods. And I just remember, wow, this one is going to help me because you just engage students and they become like, you feel like, oh, okay, this is not that bad. But that's the key, to engage the students. And then discussion boards, like breakout rooms are big help because they get feedback from other students.
That's true.
But there is something that I believe it's a key. Knowledge is transferred, I think, not just through information. Information is not knowledge. So through the computer, we get this information, or the students get the information, just the information itself. They don't see much of gestures, and I mean, they see it, but not like it's live. Gestures, tone of voice, just live communication, socializing. These things are done through screen, and to me, they are not as effective as if it was real classroom, and they would get the energy from the teacher. The teacher would get back the energy from them. So it would be not just information; it would be knowledge, because knowledge is going through your individual characteristics, which are visible, I think, only in person. So I don't know. Maybe I'm not.
It sounds like you want to go back to the classroom. Yes. You're okay. I agree.
True, I do.
Controversial, but we're gonna go there. Sorry.
So, Susanna, you are also a student. You are getting a master's in history.
In history.
Wow.
And I didn't know it was going to be like online the classes. When I registered, there was no COVID. So I was going to go in person. I was happy to go back to Cal State LA to my professors that, I know for 20 years.
That's
So
where I worked on my master's in history. There's some good ones there. Yeah, there's
yeah.
good ones there, yeah.
So I was thinking I'm going to go back happily. And then whatever happened in April, they said, no, they closed down everything. So right now I'm online and I'm a student. So I'm a student and a teacher. So
Susanna, you said you enrolled before, of course, the shutdown. Do you feel, maybe this is a tricky question to answer, but do you feel in a way that you're not getting what you need as a student?
yes, absolutely. I'm getting maybe 50% because the communication Zoom is great. We see each other, we communicate. But let's say when we're doing a group project, 4 people in a group, if I was in a classroom, I would have 4 people next to me. I have a question, I just ask, they answer. It was going to be really quick. And the input and support is right there physically. It's really, you don't have to wait for your turn. And then you don't understand as somebody else is speaking. And then you go to the chat room and you wait for the, and then besides the classes, whenever we have project, we get together on Zoom again. And everybody should accommodate as far as the time goes. But when you are live, like in real class, in real college setting, you just have your time, like you have 1 hour for the project, you're there, you have class 6 to 9, like mine was going to be 6 to 9, 6 p.m. to 9. So, and then I miss my double espresso with my friends.
Yeah, it really is true what you say, that sometimes you just turn to somebody and ask them a question and you get an answer. But now, like my boss, my admin asked me a question, and then I emailed her, but then I have to wait for, it could take days sometimes.
Sure.
Something that could happen in seconds.
And Suzanne, when you're sharing that, what popped in my head is, how about these high school seniors who are going to go to college next year? Are they ready? Are they ready for what you're already a master, and you're working on your graduate work, but these kids have never been to college. Are we getting these kids ready to enter that world? What do you think?
I think we're not really, because I think it's the same thing. Like I was always thinking, if I have to have a surgery, and I know the surgeon learned online how to do surgery, and somebody with 20 years of real experience in hospital, who would I trust? It's the same thing, like especially certain professions.
Sure.
Like, okay, you got the information, you may receive the information, but I think they're ready theoretically, probably like they could pass the test, maybe. But passing the test doesn't mean that you're competent. So competence is very important. And I think with this online teaching and learning and, it's not happening. I think competence, you don't know. How do you know if the person is competent? You can't even look in his eyes or her eyes. Like,
right.
You see what I'm saying? So yeah. I really think we have to go back and I know it's dangerous, but Cal State LA, they were saying that they're going to prepare some vaccination program just for the students. So there's going to be a station at Cal State LA where you could go and get the vaccination. And I don't know if the vaccination is I didn't get one, so maybe I will have to, but sure. I'm not sure if it's safe though.
I know. I mean, I'm with you. I kind of want to do some more research before I get vaccinated, but yeah, I think a lot of people feel the same way.
Yes. So your vote is to go back. And I think if I were a student, I would definitely be concerned. Like if I were getting my master's or something. So I can empathize a little bit of what you're saying.
Can I ask a selfish question for a moment, Suzanne? Sorry.
Sure.
I just worked with a bunch of students for academic decathlon, and we went through the Cold War. Our topic this last year was the Cold War. And as I'm talking to you, I'm thinking, wow, this is a young woman who,
Thank you.
no, really, who grew up in an area where it's not in the United States. It's a different type of education. So my selfish question is this: looking back at your education and where you when as a young person, student, what was a positive and what's a negative you took out of that experience? Because I'm sure there's some positive things that came out of that, but also maybe there's some things you think, wow, and I wish we had more of this or less of that. Or can you go back and tell?
Yeah.
I'm so fascinated by just even Russian history and relationship with the United States and how different they are. So
yeah, I thought about it many times, because even if you don't want to analyze, once you go from one system to another, it's just so natural to think, oh, what was, it's just natural to evaluate both. And because you're getting, and I was 24 when I came. So I wasn't like 4 or 5, I don't remember. No, my daughter was 2 years old. I had a family. So we came here. I went to ESL courses because they didn't speak any English anyway. So I would say in Soviet Union, the education was, the discipline in schools was really high, like really, really high discipline. There was no behavior management. Like here, to me, teachers, 85 to 90% were not teaching, we're doing behavior management. While in USSR, there was almost like maybe 1% of behavior management. Everybody knew how to behave, and everybody knew there are serious consequences for not behaving. So they did not have BPIS that they have here, or no consequence. Or we're going to prevent. That's great, you prevent. But what if it doesn't work? There should be consequences. So we knew there are serious consequences, like they would call the parents. Like I wrote something in my essay about Raskolnikov, by the way, Dostoevsky. And I compared Raskolnikov with Lenin, who is the communist leader. And I said something I should have not said. So they called my parents. So it's like, it was like
Gulag.
Good, yeah. Solzhenitsyn. There you go.
Yeah, right.
So anyway,
no messing around in Russia.
Huh?
No messing around.
No messing around. So the discipline. And then here, for example, probably some people would think, oh, it doesn't matter, but to me it does. In Soviet Union, we didn't have sciences. It was chemistry, physics, astronomy, geography. You would take specific subject and learn about it for years. So it wasn't like social science. For the first time when I came, I was like, what is social science? It's so vague. Like, are you, right. So sciences. So it's like math, everything was very concrete and very strict. And when you graduate from high school, you're basically ready to go. It's just, here is, I don't want to say that word, but I have to, this liberalism about education, or you want to take this class, or you want to take, no, you don't want to take the class. You must take this class. You must behave. It's a little rigid side, but the results are beautiful. Trust me.
Oh, we see in your life, so.
But you wouldn't call yourself a communist, would you, Susanna?
Huh?
You wouldn't call yourself a communist, would you?
Oh, no, just an opposite. Anti-communist. I wouldn't say religious, but I believe in God. I believe in human values.
Good.
I believe in keeping human values as they are, or maybe, and I understand they changed with time, but I wanted to mention this, which I think is very important, what's going on right now. You cannot eliminate the notion of morality at all. Like I hear now, it's not that moral or immoral, that's not about, but there is no morality. Let's eliminate the notion of morality. And then what do you do? And then notion of morality includes morality, moral people and immoral people. But if you eliminate the notion of morality, what do you have? Nothing. So that's something that was bothering me because that was happening in 1917 in Russia, and we got the gulags, as you said,
Yeah.
and we got about 30 million people being basically murdered by our favorite Joseph Stalin. So things didn't look very good when you go that way, that there is no morality. So I was like, Dostoevsky, come in.
Well, it's funny though. You shared some real positive things about your upbringing and education, but you also see, wait a minute, it could go sour pretty quick. And Dostoevsky, he brought some hope, he brought some ideas, and even today in 2021, we could grab onto those and say, hey, they work today. We should be treating each other differently.
Right, I agree. So Dostoevsky, he's going through all that turmoil, but then he says, look, you have to have something, some base, some Douglas Murray said, hardware to work with. You can change the software. You can do whatever you want to do with the software, but hardware should be there. So it's a point of reference. To me, it's just point of reference. You cannot destruct the point of reference. And then what are you going to do then? Who are you going to refer to when you do something? So yeah, like positive, it's really good discipline and everything in Soviet schools. But at the same time, you get this rigid, you're scared to say what you think. And you're always concerned if somebody is going to go and tell on you that you said something anti-communist. So those are things that, like freedom here, I truly appreciate, truly appreciate the freedom of, and I hope it's not going to go away. But that's a gold mine. Freedom of speech, freedom of religion, all those things I truly appreciate in this country. And I'm happy here, so.
You had mentioned, behavioral problems in the schools, the struggle in the present condition as is, the online. You're not connecting. What would you tell somebody who wanted, because I just talked to somebody who wants to get into teaching for the first time. So if somebody came to you and said, I'm interested, what do you think? I'm interested in becoming a teacher. What do you tell that person?
I would probably tell first, like, to get as much support as he or she can from colleagues, from admin, from mentors. Support when you just start teaching is very important. Somebody needs to give you an idea what's going on in that particular school, because schools are different, districts are different. So I would say get as much support as you need. Then probably, yeah.
I'm
then
sorry.
Probably I would say that observe others. Observe everything about, like, PD meetings, observe other teachers, other classrooms, observe how people talk in Christmas parties, gatherings, everything. Because I think it's important you find your individual self amongst all those people. You have to find yourself, how you fit. Maybe certain things you need to adjust to fit better. But that's as far as, feeling comfortable in the teaching amongst people.
I really like your first point, both of them, but I want to underscore that first point of that support and even vetting the school you're applying to. I think new teachers wouldn't do that because they think, well, I have to get what they give me. But having support like that is everything, because you could be the best teacher, but if nobody around you is reinforcing what you're teaching. So I think that's great.
And I think right now it's a difficult time to get into education, but hopefully not the good ones will be scared away, because it's not for everybody, right, Suzanne? I mean, this is not like anybody could just jump into it and be successful. But like you shared, one of the first things you got to do is get people, talk to people around you, see what the school is like, get some input, because going into it cold turkey, it's going to be a miserable experience. And I agree with you too.
And be flexible too, like, especially in the beginning, kind of being flexible. Like, I'm not saying you should forget who you are or you should not, carry your own truth or your methods, but if you're new, you're not going to have many methods yet teaching. I mean, maybe you have something, ideas or plans or goals, and I'm not saying you should forget them, but when you start teaching, that's reality. And it brings you so many things that you don't expect in school. Like when I was doing my credentials, you wouldn't probably believe this, but none of the professors told me that I'll be doing IEPs. and they are going to be 80% of my job, not 20, but 80. And when I figured that out, I was like, really?
So you mentioned special ed. So you have your credential in special ed. What would you say special ed is doing well, and what can they improve on?
Doing well, like inclusion is great. I'm happy that kids with special ed are included in gen ed. They are socializing, communicating with the whole student body of the school. So that's really plausible. It's great. They are learning from one another. Another good thing could be like they limit the number of kids in SPED class settings. So you don't have your 30, 35 kids. So you have 10, 15, even though I don't think there is a setup limit. I don't think there is like a legal limit to how many kids there could be. Because when I was teaching in high school and I had 24 kids with special ed and only one teacher assistant. So 24 is a little bit too much.
That's a lot.
Yeah, but limiting is good. Also, recently I noticed that the districts have more textbooks that are modified and accommodated to the kids with special needs. Like the textbooks, it's not everywhere, but high schools tend to get more materials that are just for kids who need more help. So different textbooks, different materials, manipulatives. So that's a good thing about special ed. But things that needs to be corrected, oh my God.
Do we have like a day here to talk about that?
Yeah, a lot of things. IEPs, a lot of parents have so many rights. It's not even funny. It's pure autocracy in special ed setting. Like parents and kids have all the rights, and you as a teacher or admin have to bow down and say whatever you say is right. So that needs to be changed. You cannot.
More of a team effort, you're saying.
Right, teamwork. It's like more of a teamwork. I used to work in elementary school, and there is this evacuation policy, which really bugged me, that when the kid starts acting aggressively, the whole class needs to be evacuated to the playground, not the kid with the teacher or teacher assistant, but the whole class. So you stop learning just because somebody decided to throw the chair at you. So that's something that, and they do that, evacuation of the whole class. So that needs to be changed. The kid needs to be evacuated with the psychologist, with the staff, with the support, but not the whole class. So those are little things that everybody would benefit if they look at it again and maybe just reconsider. IEP document, 25 pages or sometimes 20, 25, too long.
Getting longer.
Private schools have only 2 pages. Yeah, so like private schools, I used to work for private school, they have 2 pages with all the information. No annual meetings, just whenever you want to meet, you can meet. So kind of like really nice setup. So those are the things that I think that needs improvement in as far as the SPED setting goes.
It really is true that you spend more time on a document than teaching sometimes. That's a problem.
Yeah, Ruben, I think it's 3 positions in one: case manager, a teacher, and assessment clerk.
That's right.
So like you have to do, your tests and everything, and then write the report. So.
Well, there is one more. Do you have another question before?
I wasn't asked one question, another question regarding, you're sharing quite a bit of things that need to be fixed, I think. I think they need to be fixed. And I think you do too. Have you thought about maybe going into the area of maybe not so much administration, but maybe school board? Because I think there's some problems around the country in that area to make some real big changes. Have you thought about that at all with your education? No?
Not at all.
That's not her at all.
Honestly,
That's not you.
It's just, it's admin is not me. I may, if somebody asks for help, just free help. Like if I need to write something for someone, like to present as possible plan of a change, I would be more than glad. But I have never seen myself like someone who can actually like command or
I would listen to you.
Suzanne's dream job is to sit around a table with students and talk about Balzac, Dostoevsky, Thomas Hardy.
All right, you're a teacher. What you're saying is you're a teacher.
Yes, and I love learning.
Good teachers like you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
One thing, this podcast is about, mentors mentors who have influenced you. So do you have a mentor or a teacher that impacted you, Susanna?
I do, but probably it's going to sound strange, but that's my yoga teacher. So I've been practicing Iyengar yoga for about 12, 13 years. And the impact that my teacher, when I say teacher, I imagine my yoga teacher.
Oh, wow.
Because this is an incredible woman. She taught me that, for example, like if I'm specific, that any movement you do in general, like not just physical, any movement has actions in it. And a movement without action is useless. Nobody taught me that. So she taught me things that I didn't have any background. Usually you learn from what you already know. But she taught me something I never knew, I never thought about, I never read anywhere.
Susanna, what, maybe I'm missing it. What's the application for that? What movement? There's an action.
You mean the application for what I think? What I learned?
Yeah. What do you get out of that? What did you walk away with that comment? Because I'm not sure if I know. That's why I'm asking.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let me. For example, when I'm writing a paper right now, I'm working on my degree. So I'm writing a paper about the book that I read. So if the movement is the writing process, I have to summarize the major points of the book. But if I don't unfold every major point, I don't give an action to that movement, my paper is going to be no good. Mm. It would be just a very cold and static reflection of the book. And nobody will want to read it because there's no action in the movement of writing. So in writing, you could have just great writing, technically correct, you summarize everything, but there is no action. There's no action in the movement of writing. That could be anywhere. When you dance, when you sing, when you write, when you teach. In teaching, you may teach like facts. Nobody can say you're a bad teacher because you know your context. But you never stop and you never reflect, you never put your individual part into your teaching, your voice. And that's what my yoga teacher taught me.
So it's
priceless. Yeah.
It's almost like your individual action has to be there. It can't be this sort of template or this sort of generalized thing that you do. What part of you has gone into it? Am I coming close?
Right. Absolutely. You're absolutely 100%. That's what it is. Your individual action is important.
Oh, wow, that makes sense. Especially like you said, when you're writing a paper. I know I've read a lot of papers and you don't hear the kid's voice. You're hearing other people's voices. but where are you in it, right? Oh, that's great.
Jake, from where I come from, that's called plagiarism.
Is that what it's
Anyway,
that's not what they do in Russia. No, I'm gonna make up things. I'm sorry. I have no clue what I'm saying. But.
Wow, Susanna, this has been very fun. I mean, I always learn something new from you. I always walk away getting something different. And this is
Thank you, Ruben. I do the same when I talk to you. And Jacob, thank you so much. You guys.
Oh no, we're so blessed to have you here with us this time, and hope to have you again in the future, because I know you have a lot of wealth of experience, and especially where you've come from and what you've learned, and you know, even being born in, you said, in Armenia, right? And
yes.
so that's awesome too, because there's a lot there, so much rich history. So yes, again, thank you for being with us.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. It's my pleasure, and you guys are wonderful. And thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.